We're trying to share a reality with the world of a neighbor which has gotten away with hegemonic tendencies within the region but cannot get away with it in Pakistan. Also, we want space, both diplomatic and what you call respect and izzat in our language, to remain for that neighbor to be able to come back happily marching towards the negotiating table.
India and Pakistan, nuclear-armed neighbours, have gone to war before. But a brief, intense battle in May this year marked a dramatic shift in their equations.
Where do we go from here, with India having drawn the red line with Operation Sindoor?
पाकिस्तान अपने हिस्से के पानी पर कभी समझौता नहीं करेगा, भारत को रेड लाइन अबूर नहीं करने देंगे.
India and Pakistan have again exchanged tit-for-tat strikes across their borders today, amid fears of a much larger escalation.
The rivalry spilled well beyond the battlefield as both countries launched a diplomatic blitz to gain the narrative upper hand. In this one-of-a-kind series on Al Jazeera, I will interview a leading voice from both sides of the border, Hina Rabbani Khar of Pakistan and Milind Deora of India, to examine who's ahead in the global narrative wars. In this episode, I ask Hina Rabbani Khar, was Pakistan able to successfully convince the world that India acted like a rogue state, or did its messaging fall short? You can also find a link to my interview with Milind Deora in the description box below. But before we get to the interview with Hina Rabbani Khar, here's a brief chronology. The trigger for the war came in April with the brutal killing of 26 people, mostly tourists, in Indian-administered Kashmir, an act of violence that shocked India. New Delhi accused Islamabad of engineering the attack.
I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers.
On the 7th of May, India carried out strikes against what it called terrorist camps inside Pakistan.
India exercised its right to respond and preempt as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure.
Pakistan strongly denied any link to the Kashmir attack, accused India of military aggression and retaliated.
भारत के बेबुनियाद इल्ज़ामात पर इंतहाई तहम्मुल और बर्दाश्त का मुजाहरा किया, लेकिन उसने अपने घमंड में हमारी सरहदों की हुर्मत को पामाल करने की नाकाम कोशिश की.
What unfolded was nearly 4 days of the worst fighting between the two countries in decades. A ceasefire announced by US President Donald Trump came into effect on the 10th of May. So how did the two countries fare in the court of global public opinion? For a Pakistan view, I'm joined by Hina Rabbani Khar. She's the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan and a key face of Pakistan's public diplomacy. Ms. Khar, thank you so much for joining us on Al Jazeera. I'd like to open with just a simple yes or no question. You will have a chance to elaborate your views at greater length. But just for starting point, do you believe that Pakistan has the edge over India in the court of global opinion? Just a yes or no for now.
Can I say absolutely?
Absolutely, you can. Okay, but if you could explain how, because Pakistan has been pushing the world to condemn India for what you say are illegal strikes. You're even saying India is a rogue state. But there don't seem to be any takers for your line. Most world powers are simply saying both countries should show restraint, should de-escalate. How is that a win for you?
Okay, so first of all, we're not looking for a win. We're not looking for a military win, we're not looking for a diplomatic win, we are looking for peaceful coexistence.
But you just said that you've absolutely won the narrative war, so I was just challenging that.
So, no, we're not doing a narrative war. We are actually against narrative wars. We are not selling a narrative. We're trying to share a reality with the world of what we feel is a situation which is getting out of hand because of belligerent, roguish behavior of a neighbor which has gotten away with hegemonic tendencies within the region with pretty much all other neighbors but cannot get away with it in Pakistan. And also we want space, both diplomatic and what you call respect and izzat in our language, to remain for that neighbor to be able to come back happily marching towards the negotiating table.
But is the world taking that on board? Because again, as I said, if you see what's being said on the record, you're making a very serious allegation. You're saying that India has set this new red line, that every terror attack is going to be treated as an act of war. If you were getting traction with that in the court of global opinion, the world would be saying, hey, India, you can't do that. But nobody is saying that.
What are the two asks, or what are the two narratives, as you call them, or what is the reality or concern that the two countries are trying to share through their parliamentary delegations and through the diplomats all over the world? India's ask is, allow us to function outside of the realm of international law, UN Charter, rules-based order, launch our strikes when we wish, condemn somebody.
What is Pakistan's ask?
Let me complete.
Yes, okay.
This is not the only ask India
All
has,
right, okay.
Allow us to throw Article 25, which asks us, which obligates us to go by Security Council resolutions out the window and say we have annexed Kashmir, now it is ours and now we have business. Allow us to throw out Article 51, which says that if we, Pakistan's ask.
Or the way that you characterize it at least.
Okay. What is Pakistan saying to the world? Pakistan is saying that in the first 5 years, Pakistan gave Prime Minister Modi a full chance to, to not have his Gujarat past come in the way of him being a Prime Minister, a legacy seeker of peace, and until it became completely clear. And I think 2019, they re-annexed Kashmir, right? And then they told everyone, people like you, look, you want sound bites? I'm not here.
No, it's not a question of sound bites. This is a lot of granular detail for a global audience, because I really want to come back to the focus. India is coming, as you said, with the contention that essentially they are justified in doing what they are because they believe that this particular terrorist attack emanated from Pakistan as it has in the past, and that's why they carried out the strikes, right, which you are saying are illegal. The world, some analysis shows, seems to be tilting towards the Indian side, and I'm going to read out some research to you from Brookings Institute, a DC-based think tank, which I'm sure you're aware of, some days after the ceasefire. It says the United States and India's other key partners have largely adopted New Delhi's argument that Pakistan is responsible for cross-border terrorism based on a long-standing pattern of Pakistani support to anti-India militancy rather than evidence. In other words, there's a whole history of terrorism, so every time India doesn't have to present evidence.
So Pakistan made a very big strategic mistake. You know what Pakistan's biggest strategic mistake was? That Pakistan did not go and drum the terrorism drum in front of the world, starting from Samjhota and before that. And you know what happened recently, Jafar Express, and what happened APS. Because Pakistan was always trying to create space for coexistence.
Right.
Okay, so there is really a difference of view.
But this is global, this is not India's view. This is an American think tank.
What did you just say? You said that they are likely to believe in the India perspective because of past pattern rather than evidence. Okay, I think if think tanks are reduced to doing this type of analysis, which talks about without evidence, they are likely to believe. You know what this says? It says the person who's writing this piece has a bias, unfortunately. I won't be reading more reports from that institution, but nevertheless, let's move forward. Look, there are a group of people who are taking India's position forward. Okay. So somebody asked the leader of the delegation that went to the US, what is the evidence? Has no one asked you? He said, of course people have asked us for evidence. Okay, what is the evidence? Oh, the evidence says that Pakistan has past precedents. So because of past precedents, we have reasons to believe that this has happened. Okay, so when you mention 2008, Mumbai happened, you forget to mention Samjhota also happened. Then you mention something else, you forget to mention APS also happened. So it's
when selective
you say
you mean India.
I mean,
yes. So actually, India.
The other evidence that he provided, was that army personnel were saying their prayers behind what he claimed were terrorist dead bodies, who we have repeatedly shown to the international media also.
In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was coming to that. This is the photograph you're referring to.
So you see,
which is, if I can now just explain this to our viewers, because they need to understand
this is how they're carrying this photo, right?
Essentially, this image is, as you mentioned, a big part of India's global outreach, because they say that this shows Abdur Rauf. He's a US designated global terrorist. He's leading prayers in Pakistan for those killed in India's airstrike. In attendance are senior Pakistani police and military officials. That is a damning image. This man is on a US global terror list.
You can carry an image. I am telling you with authority, with evidence which has been shared with the whole world, that this is not the man that you're claiming it to be. There are 1 million Abdul Raufs in Pakistan. So if I can carry a picture and say this is Swami, whoever got the...
Yes, let me respond to this. So actually the Pakistani army held a press conference. They didn't say this image is fake. They said Rauf is not a terrorist. They said that he's a member of a political party, and they released his national ID number, if I can complete. They released his national ID number. That ID number is the same one as on the US sanctioned list. So according to the US sanctioned terrorist list, this man is a terrorist.
No.
The Pakistani army is defending him.
The Pakistani is not defending, the Pakistani army is defending this man.
Yes.
The Pakistani army is not defending the person who is prescribed by the US. Most of the people who are prescribed by the US.
The national ID numbers are the same.
The ISPR categorically has said that this is not the same person, and you just sat over here and told me that they said they just defended him and did not say it's not the same person. They categorically
because of the national ID number. Okay, let's move on to something which Pakistan has been saying has been a clear diplomatic win for you, which is that Donald Trump offered to mediate the Kashmir dispute between India and Pakistan. And I'll quickly explain to our viewers why this is a win for Pakistan, because you are in favor of third-party mediation of Kashmir. India is not. India says it's a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan. My only question, Ms. Khar, to you is that, do you really want to bet on Donald Trump? Because you've been praising him, you've been encouraging him to mediate. This is somebody who doesn't even know the duration of the India-Pakistan dispute. He says it's 1,000 years old. Both countries are just, 80 years old. But 1,000 years, but him saying that I've solved a 1,000-year dispute is much better PR than saying I've solved an 80-year dispute.
Okay, first of all, I think President Trump has proven himself to be a man who's able to, so far, be able to move away from the common liberal reconfirmation of nation building, war making, which has immense impact, all negative, in regions where the war has been, and where liberal values are celebrating those wars, right? He has tried to negotiate peace in all of the major ongoing conflicts. I am someone who deeply, and my country, deeply believes that if conflict can be avoided, solutions are always on the negotiating table. So we deeply believe it. He's somebody who seems to be very invested in it. When it comes to India-Pakistan, he has repeatedly gone and obviously been denied by the Indians, because the Indians just want to, call everybody a liar, right? And the Indians have so much credibility.
I don't think they're calling Trump a liar. No, it's just that their stated position, as you know, is that they're not in favor of third-party mediation.
What do you mean they're not calling him a liar? When they say that this did not happen and President Trump says it did, how does it mean what are they calling him then?
So the State Department has actually walked back on Mr. Trump's comments. The State Department itself has said that the decision, the ceasefire, was arrived at by both countries.
Who's leading the State Department? Secretary Rubio, did you read his tweet?
I'm just telling you what the State Department said.
No, I'm just asking you because you just negated.
It's a statement.
I'm sorry, you need to do slightly better homework before.
All right, but I want to ask you something about the Trump intervention, because he's been claiming that he brokered peace between both countries by offering a trade deal, something that India has rejected outright. What is Pakistan's position? Did Trump offer you a trade deal? And did that contribute to your agreeing to a Trump-mediated ceasefire?
Are we only going to believe Prime Minister Modi and his coterie of people, the Hindutva extremist people, to be
Khar, most respectfully,
peddlers over here? This is what's happening over here.
Most respectfully, I'm just asking you about Trump's official claim. He has repeated this time and again. This is not an Indian claim. Trump said that he offered a trade deal.
That's what I'm saying.
So
obviously, I'm saying what Mr. Trump is saying, what President Trump is saying is with the authority of the seal of the United States of America. Do I look like a fool to you to say what he's saying is lying? Of course, he's offered trade deals to both. We are transparent enough, and
he did offer a trade deal to Pakistan. I'm asking about
credibility.
Pakistan. Yes.
I'm not trade. President Trump is on record to have said that I said let's do trade to both of them. He absolutely said that. He said let's make peace to both of them. He absolutely said that. Do not go to war, both of you. Absolutely said that. Now, I do not represent a country which has such a large view of itself and is seeking conflict, perpetual conflict. Allow me to please say this, 2 minutes or 1 minute. India is a country which says it will not take an investigation into this attack or any other attack. It says no to that. India is a country which says we will not give Pakistan the benefit of a dialogue. And it's also a country which says we would not want third-party mediation. It is also a country which says we will not seek multilateral solution. So my question to you is, what is it seeking then? Perpetual conflict and authorization for it to perpetuate.
Okay, I'm not here representing the government of India, so I don't know why you keep asking me this, but let me now come to
your talking points seem to be quite similar. So
no, these are just facts. These aren't talking points.
Oh, sorry. Which one of this was facts?
I was essentially saying that you're on this mission, Pakistan is on this mission to convince the world, or to at least persuade the world about certain actions India is taking, which you've used a number of terms to describe, even including the course of this interview, rogue, etc., etc. And I'm saying the world doesn't seem to be seeing it that way. Time and again, there's either silence or they feel there's an absence of evidence. But that is just to characterize what I was saying. We're completely running out of time.
Look,
I have to move on.
I get it, but I don't know what you call the world. We just got a vice presidentship of the UNSC, I think they call it a group on terrorism. Is that the world to you? When people elect you to the United Nations Security Council, is that the world too? So I don't know which world you're referring to. We seem like you from Mars, I'm from Jupiter, you're from, really we're living in, you seem to be asking me questions which are a little bit coming from a lens of the world which I don't see. Because I believe when the country is voted into the United Nations Security Council, when the country is given the responsibility of leading a group on terrorism and how to go forward for the United Nations, that's the world speaking. So you keep on telling me the world. I think it's Prime Minister Modi's world, right? That you keep on referring to. Because the world I'm speaking to...
Prime Minister Modi has nothing to do with my questions.
But if I can just... because the world I'm speaking to doesn't seem to be saying the stuff that you're putting through to me. So I'm a bit confused. Are we looking in parallel universe?
So you mentioned the UNSC position. But both things are possible. It's possible that Pakistan gets that position, and it's also true that Pakistan has the 4th highest number of UN designated terrorists, right? So both realities are possible. One doesn't take away from another.
Pakistan has been a place where a lot of geopolitical, fallout has happened.
Sure.
Okay, and Pakistan is a country which likes to be transparent about it, and Pakistan is a country which is trying to correct some of the wrongs which were the fall-off of geopolitical experimentation in our world,
okay.
right?
Let me take this away.
Think holding that against a country is a little bit preposterous.
Okay, let me take this away from terrorism. Many say that to fix its optics, Pakistan needs to look inwards. Going into the war with India, the Pakistan army was deeply unpopular. It was accused of jailing Imran Khan, rigging elections and crushing dissent. Now the army has declared victory against India and it is back in the driver's seat. Isn't that a bad look on the international stage?
Look, listen. The army hasn't declared victory on India. Pakistan was able to not only defend itself but go right into the center, on the heart of India and break its myth of conventional supremacy to tatters. Not only the Rafale's jet came down, but all of India's social credibility, government's credibility, and India's nonsensical media hype, jingoism was exposed to the world, where therefore perhaps was one good reason why India did not get the type of support that it did when it launched the 2019, because India had meanwhile decided to do its extrajudicial killing and illegal activity not only within the confines of Pakistan's geography, but also thought it was big enough to do it in Canada and then in the United States of America. So these people who say this are exclusively perhaps speaking to you or certainly not getting to me.
My question was not about who won the war. Frankly, all international...
No, you're saying Pakistan army claims it won the war. Bhai,
okay, so
you want India a bigger win?
Okay, so India also claimed it won the war. All the independent analysis...
Did India claim it lost some Rafales? Did India... How long did it take them to come to terms with that reality?
If I can finish, all the independent analysis that has cut through the claims and counterclaims of both sides has not ruled in favor of either side. It seems to be much more nuanced than one or the other saying they won the war.
We were not the aggressor, right?
My question was different.
So we were not meaning to...
Ms. Khar, my question was different.
Attack.
My question was about the fact that the growing strength, the growing authority of the Pakistan military is being viewed by concern by the global democracy watchdog Freedom House in its 2025 report says Pakistan's military exerts enormous influence over government formation and policies, intimidates the media and enjoys impunity for extra legal force.
Okay. So what do you want me to ask? What do you want me to answer?
You are asking where the concern is about the army, and I'm just citing one of several examples that the growing strength, the growing authority of the army, surely as someone who's a very vocal proponent of Pakistani democracy, you're a civilian politician.
Sure. So
surely you'd be concerned about the army's increasing power.
I will comment on that.
Over Pakistan.
But I'm really surprised of how almost universally the bias in the media against Pakistan and for India is so lovely to watch and experience, right? Because you would not quote me the International Crisis Group or the Human Rights Watch or the umpteen international houses who have written about the pellet guns in Kashmir, the human rights abuse in Kashmir. You will never quote any of that.
Those are
to
questions
me or
for questions for the Indian side,
which I don't see. And you asking.
This is a question.
Really. But
this is an interview with someone from Pakistan.
Very legitimate question. No, we are absolutely not concerned about the whatever you are claiming in terms of the military. I think the military is meant to do a certain job. It just displayed in the highest transparent, professional way to be very well disposed and capable of being able to do its job. It displayed to the world that it is capable of sending jets into other countries and being able to get them back without losing,
Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir has now become Field Marshal Munir, has even greater powers. That doesn't concern you?
That absolutely doesn't concern me, because I think what he has been able to display, what the army, the military as an institution has been able to display, is professionalism which should be emulated within the region. So I think the Indian military, they've got maybe a lot to learn, right? So interoperability is maybe one thing they want to learn, how to use technology is maybe one thing they want to learn, how to display professional transparency is one thing. If you lose jets, accept it, maybe accept that. Pakistan transparently came and said, we lost this many military men, we lost this, we lost that. We were transparent about it, and the questions that you keep on asking me about the world, I'm seeing a very different world. You don't want to talk about that world, right? I'm seeing a world which is absolutely listening not only to Pakistan but agreeing with, because in these 3 days or 4 days, India displayed all the bells that Pakistan was raising about India becoming a rogue state with extremist tendencies, which had lost all credibility and which wanted perpetual conflict.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're out of time, Ms. Khar. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us on Al Jazeera.
Okay,
Thank you.
Cool.